friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a card using the Hello Bluebird Otter Friends stamp set. I'm going to be coloring my images with Copic markers, so I've stamped them out on some Copic friendly cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I'm beginning with my otters, and for their faces I'm using E40, E41, and E43. I looked up pictures of otters, and some of them have a much lighter face than the rest of their body, so I wanted to kind of try to capture that with today's images. So I'm starting with the E43 and kind of doing a dark halo around the outer edges of their faces just to give them a little bit more shadow and create that rounded appearance. And then I'm blending towards the center with the E41 and filling in with the E40. I decided I would also color their bellies the same, so I'm using that E43 once again to just add a little bit of shadow under their arms and between their legs, and then blending out again with the E41, and then I'll finish with the E40 right in the center, making that the nice little highlighted area. I'll remove my E40 and E41 from the next combination, but I'm going to hang on to that E43, and that's going to be my lightest now. I'm also going to use E44, E47, and E49. I'm starting with that E49 and doing some shadows under their tails. Definitely on the leg that's on the opposite side of the body, there would be some shadow cast there, and alongside their backs and underneath their arms. And I did go ahead and include the coloring for both images today, just so you could see the different light sources, and they were really quick and easy to color, so I thought I would just go ahead and leave them both in. So now I'm going to blend out with that E47, just bringing that color out, making sure to blend the edge of that E49 since it's such a dark color. It's almost black, it's so dark. So I'm doing quick little flicks to draw that E49 into the E47 so it creates a nice blend. And then I'm going to come in with the E44 and soften that up even further. I know 4 colors seems a little bit excessive, but I just wanted it to have a really gradual blend so that their faces don't look too stark in contrast. So I'm going to fill in the majority of what remains with that E44, just saving a few little places for a highlighted area. And I'm going to really scrub over that E47. These markers, this particular combination of markers blends really well, but you will have harsh lines if you don't, scrub over that previous color just a little bit more than with some of the other shades. But I do think these are the perfect dusty brown combo to use for otters. So I'm just going to fill in those last little areas with that E43, helping that transition blend really nice and smooth into the lighter areas on the face and the belly. And then I'll also add a little bit more E43 around the outer edges of the otter's faces just to increase the depth there, and then blend that out with the E41. Next I'm going to be coloring my fish, and I wanted them to look like rainbow trout. So once again I looked up a picture on my phone. So I'm adding a little gray stripe down at the bottom with the C3. Then for the top half of their bodies, I'm going to use YG61, YG63, and YG67. I'm starting with the YG61 since they're so small. I wanted to be careful not to get too heavy-handed with the darker colors, so I started with my lightest. I am leaving just a very thin sliver between the green and the gray. So now I'm coming in with the YG63 and just deepening that color at the very top, right underneath their fins. I'm leaving the fins with just the YG61, and then I'll come in with the YG67 with an even thinner line way up at the top. I'll blend out the edge of the YG67 with the YG63. And then I'm going to come back in with my YG67 and use the very, very tip of my marker to add just a few little dark dots across the top half of the fish, really close to the fins. Again, this is from the picture that I googled. They had some little dots, so I thought I would go ahead and add those to make it look a little more realistic. And then I'm going to come in with the RV10 and do a little pink stripe in the area that I left between the green and the gray. While I have that marker out, I'm going to add some rosy cheeks to my otters just to make them look extra cute. And it wasn't quite dark enough to show, so I decided to bring in the RV11. So I did go over the pink stripe on the rainbow trout and then over the cheeks of the otters as well. All that's left to color is the little gift, and I wanted something that would really contrast from the blue water that we're going to have for our background. So I decided on yellow and red. So for the wrapping paper of the gift, I used Y11, Y13, and Y15. And then for the actual ribbon, I used R29 and R39. Just added a dot of that darker R39 and then blended with the R29. I'm going to take a black glazed jelly roll pen and just go over the eyes of the otter and also the fish. This just makes them nice and shiny and glossy, and it's just a nice little detail. And now I'll trim these out with the matching dies. For my background, I've taken a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock and taped it down to a little cutting board with some painter's tape. And now I'm going to use my Koi Sketchbox watercolors to just add some blue shades to the background. So I'm kind of doing different swiping motions. I wanted it to be really irregular. I didn't want like a solid block of color. I wanted it to almost look as if there's little waves and currents and things in there. So I'm just going to fill this all in with a couple different shades of blue, building up that color until I'm happy with it. So I started with that kind of teal blue shade, and now I'm going into more of a royal blue. I don't believe the little watercolors in this set have names, but I could be wrong. I really haven't used this set very much. I don't know why, I just never think to pull it out. I should really practice more with it, but anyway, so now I'm taking a kind of mustard shade and I'm going to use that to do some sand or kind of like a riverbed down at the bottom. I'm going to take a bit of a darker red shade and add that at the very edge. I was kind of going for a clay kind of soil, and it's kind of funny because this was a birthday card for my dad, whose birthday is 2 days before mine, and his name is Clay. So then I'm going to pick up a little bit of a dark brown and also add that in there just to create a little bit more depth and some variation in color. Then I'm going to pick up a little bit of the darkest blue. This is almost like a, I don't know, English blue or pale navy, and add a few more squiggles in there, kind of creating some more waves, just a little bit more contrast. I like, you know, a lot of contrast in my coloring, and I wanted my background to definitely match. Then I'm going to mix up a purple by taking the dark blue and dark red and just mixing those together on my palette, and I'll add a little bit of that as well just to create a little more interest. And then I'll just set this whole panel aside to dry. So I used the Hello Bluebird Gallery Frame 2 to die cut the outside frame with some craft cardstock. And I also added some foam tape to the back of that. So I'm going to peel off those backer sheets. You can also see that I peeled off the painter's tape from my background and trim that down to size so that it'll fit really nicely, so I can just pop that frame right over top. While that background was drying, I stamped and die cut some greenery from the Hello Bluebird Woodland Littles stamp set, and I used Lawn Fawn's Noble Fir and Jalapeno ink to stamp those out. So I'm going to use those as some seaweed and some different greenery down at the bottom of my river. So first I'm going to add my little otters, and I'm using foam tape on the back of all of my images. I'm going to tuck the little gift into the otter on the right's paws. So the other one looks like he's surprised because he's getting a gift. And then I'll add a couple of my little trout down towards the bottom. I'm not pressing them down too firmly just yet because I know that they may have to be adjusted as I start to add the greenery. I stamped out a whole bunch because I wasn't sure what I wanted to add, but I'm going to kind of figure it out as I go along and then adjust those little fish as needed. So I decided to add one of the larger greenery pieces. It kind of looks like seaweed down in the bottom left corner. And then I added two of the littler greenery pieces in the lighter shade, one in each corner, and kind of tilted them towards the center. For my sentiment, I'm using Lawn Fawn's walnut ink to stamp out "Have an Otterly Great Birthday" on some more craft cardstock. And I'm going to stamp that out 3 times so that I have a really nice bold impression so that it stands out, since it's such a tiny little font, but it's so cute. And then while I have my MISTI out, I'm also going to stamp the inside of my card. My card base is Lawn Fawn's Moonstone cardstock, and I'm using the Moonstone ink to match. And I'm stamping out one of the other otters in the set and the sentiment that says "You're utterly amazing." And I stamped that one out 3 times as well. To adhere my focal panel to the card base, I'm going to just add some Tombow Mono liquid glue to the back of it and then line that up in the center and pop that down into place. And I really like how the Moonstone cardstock really kind of matches the background. It's just kind of like a little bit of a lighter shade. Then I used the Lawn Fawn Everyday Sentiment banners to trim out my sentiment. So I'll add a bead of glue across that center portion and then make sure that is on there nice and straight. To finish off the card, I'm going to add a couple of Pretty Pink Posh 4 and 6 millimeter clear droplets. So I have 3 of the smaller ones and 1 of the larger. I'm adhering one of the smaller ones below the sentiment and then all the rest above. And I'm using Ranger's Multimedia Matte to adhere those down, and my Pick Me Up stick to go ahead and just help me place those. I did get kind of a splodge of glue on there, so I kind of picked it up with the back of my Pick Me Up stick, and then I'll use a little bit of that to go ahead and adhere the large one. And I know those look milky now, but that glue does dry completely clear and matte. And even though this is a card for a guy, I just had to add a little bit of crystal stickles to the fish to represent their scales. So I just did a tiny little bit down on the underside of their bellies. I think my dad won't care anyway. And I also added just a little bit to the red ribbon on the gift. I'll use my Pick Me Up stick to just remove any glitter from covering the black lines so that you can clearly see the fish's fins. And then I'll go ahead and lift that up to the camera. There's another peek at the inside and a look at all that sparkle and shine. I think it is a nice touch on those fish. So that is going to complete our card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I just adore these Hello Bluebird images. I think they're so cute. If you liked today's video, you can show your support for my channel by hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing if you're not a subscriber already. And you can also hit the notification bell if you want to be sure that my videos always end up in your feed. So here's 2 extra videos you may also be interested in. Hopefully those will tide you over until my next one. Until then, I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye-bye.